Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
This was a quick look in terms of creation of machine. Now, if I go to this diagram, I have a virtual machine with a network interface card. To this network interface card, there are two elements being associated. One is a private IP address which I got from virtual network and subnet. Second is a public IP address. Here, if you see, this is a public IP address and this is a private IP address 10.0.4. As far as ENS-G is concerned, this ENS-G is helping me to connect with my machine. If you see, port number 3389 is being opened up over here. This is the network interface card. And if I go to network interface card IP configurations, I can see the public IP being associated and the private IP being associated. Whatever we are seeing in the diagram over here, same things we can see it in the components as well. There are two disks which I have, one OS disk and second is data disk, which is managed by Microsoft. I don't have an SSD right now. I have used only one HDD. As far as DNS is concerned, we have not associated a DNS over here. Can anybody help me? How do I attach a DNS over here? What should I do? Anyone who can help me with DNS? You are trying to add DNS to the virtual network. There could be two options over here once it comes to DNS. One is private DNS and second is public DNS. For public DNS, I can go to public. Go to the configuration section. Within configuration section here I can specify whatever DNS name I want. I can also associate a private DNS. This is how we can associate DNS over here. Once user specifies a DNS, it will connect to public IP address. That public IP address is associated with network interface card. Network interface card is associated with the virtual machine and we have the ENS-G which allows me that communication. Once I am connected to this VM, whatever actions I perform will either go to the OS disk or will go to the data disk. Let's move ahead to the next topic here. That is configuration of high availability. Now, what is the reason or what is the purpose of configuring high availability? Now, whenever you have your workloads installed, workloads being configured, what one would require over here is these machines should be highly available for your users. They should be able to work with it effectively, and there should be minimum downtime for your environment. That's the core purpose of high availability. Does that mean that whenever you create resources on Azure environment, they are not highly available? It's not that way. They are available, but there can be downtime as well, because here we are all talking about underlying physical environment, virtual machines running on top of it. There can be a software glitch. There can be a hardware glitch as well. What Microsoft says is, whenever you are deploying any machines, if you have a single VM with premium SSD, I can give you an availability uptime of 99.90%. Which means still there is a chance of downtime. When I say 99.9%, this is as per my assumption. This is approximately 8 to 12 hours in a year. Now, if you look at your on-premises environment, your infrastructure team even cannot promise you this. SLA. Microsoft or Windows promise this SLA. But even for a real time kind of scenarios, 12 hours or 8 hours in a year of downtime, it could be at a single point or it could be a staggered, I don't know. But even in those scenarios, I want my workload to be accessible by other users. How do I ensure that, or what are the ways of ensuring that values over here? That is what question gets answered by using high availability. Approaches over here. First approach for high availability will be using availability set. Within this availability set, like I said, there are two types of glitches. One is a hardware glitch and second is a software glitch. Answering those problems, software issues or update issues. This is answered by using update domain. And as far as the hardware glitch is concerned or hardware issues is concerned in terms of power failure or in terms of issues on switch or internet cable issues, whatever issues that you have on the rack server, those kind of issues are being resolved by using fault domain. These are the logical separations of machines using which Microsoft tries to address these issues as part. And what is essential for us to do is we need to put our machines in availability set. Apart from this, we should have minimum of 2 machines over here. We should have minimum of 2 machines. If you look at availability set, what Microsoft does is it distributes your VMs within fault domain and update date domain. When you say fault domain, it will help you from if I have 2 machines in a single fault domain. What do I mean by that? 2 machines in 2 different fault domains means first machine will be on first rack server, second machine will be on second rack server. If the first rack server fails because of some physical problem, the second machine is still up and running. That is the meaning of putting 2 machines in one fault domain. How would I know if such a thing is happening? Physically, we don't know, but this is what Microsoft promises us, that we will put these 2 machines in 2 different rack servers, and by doing that, I can give you an uptime of 9.95%. Microsoft promises in the year of 999%. What is the advantage for me? The downtime which we mentioned of 8 to 12 hours is now 4 hours. The downtime has reduced. Apart from this, once it comes to virtual machines, the virtual machines are available. As far as data availability is concerned, for data availability, we can make use of a managed disk where Microsoft manages the VHD files, the OS disk, data disk separately. If you look at availability, set each of these domains that we are talking about fault domains. These are separate rack servers. If you look at update domains, how do I group these machines? Or what is the meaning of update domain? All VMs which have the operating system installed on a specific date and time that behaves as one update domain. Number of machines which have the OS installed or patches installed on the same time. That is called as one update domain. Which means if there are 2 or 3 machines which have been installed at the same time, they will also restart at the same time. That's why we put your machines in update domains. Which means if one machine stops or one machine gets restarted, second machine is still up and running. Using this, even if a machine restarts because of a software update, I still have the second machine up and running. That's what is referred as update domain. By using these options, Microsoft is ensuring that you have at least one machine, minimum one machine, running for your environment. And your users can connect to that machine. Now anyone, any questions here in availability set? Anyone, any questions here in availability set? Not thanks. Here, let me ask you a question. When I'm using availability set and I have to deploy my workloads over here, how should I go about? Because if I look at my application, I'll have presentation tier, I'll have service tier, I'll have my database tier. When I'm creating an availability set, let me give respective names to it. This is my web tier service tier database tier. When I'm creating these tiers over here, or when I'm creating these components over here, how should I create availability set? Should it be horizontal or should it be vertical? It should be horizontal. Chineth says it is horizontal. How about others? Shouldn't it be vertical for the web server? I feel the same. Like each tier can have like 2 virtual machines at least. Web server, running web server tail. I slightly disagree over here. Let's first understand before we agree or disagree. When we put 3 machines in one availability set, one for web tier, one for service tier, one for database tier, What do we mean by that? If one fails, everything is gone. Here, what you're saying is out of these 3 VMs, one VMM should be running. Out of these 3 VMs, one VM should be running. Is it what we want, or do you want all the VMs to be running? There's one VMM here. There's a third VMM here. Out of these 3 VMs, we want at least one VM to be running. Is that what you want? We want all the VMs to be running. All will be running. At any given point in time, there should be minimum. Here, if I have, say, 2 machines in web tier, one of these machines should be running. Am I correct? Similarly, there should be one of these VMs which should be running. Similarly, once it comes to service tier, out of the 3 machines that we have, minimum one machine should be running. Getting everyone? That is what we are looking at. Same thing holds true for database tier as well. In each of these scenarios, at least one machine should be running. And that is why it is recommended that we create an availability set in such a way that for every tier, minimum one machine should be running. If there is a user request, it can fulfill that user request by using one instance from each tier. Does that make sense to everyone? This will be your availability set, and within each availability set, we have minimum of 2 VMs. Whenever there is a user request, at least one of these machines is available to fulfill the request. It goes to the web tier. From there it goes to the service tier. From there it goes to the database tier and gets you the required response. Does it make sense to everyone? The availability set should be one per tier. That is how you will be able to make best out of your availability sets. Let's go to the next section over here. Now the next option that we have is availability zones. Now, once it comes to availability zone internally has number of fault domains, number of update domains. Now, before even getting into those areas, fault domain, update domain, we already have understood what is the significance of availability zone. Like we have discussed about availability sets. If you look at availability zone, Microsoft promises 99.99% infrastructure SLI availability of the underlying environment. Now here, once it comes to availability zone, here what Microsoft is doing is they have within a particular region. Not all regions will have availability zone. Please be careful of that. There are specific regions where you have this option of availability zone. That's one. Wherever you have this availability zone, Microsoft has ensured there are multiple buildings within the given availability zone. And here you have each building with separate power supply. They have separate internet connectivity and they have a separate cooling system. Because these are three primary reasons. What they have understood due to number of failures is these are three primary reasons due to which the environment can go down. What they have done is they have created separate buildings within the same region, and each building will have a different power supply from a different vendor, different internet connectivity option, and cooling system. Because of these problems, even if one environment goes down, I still have that second environment supporting that solution or supporting those features. But if the entire region goes down, then you cannot do anything. Because these 3 to 4 buildings that we're talking about are in the same region. And each building, when I say these are separate data centers. Clear everyone? This is the core significance of availability zone. 9990 is a default seller with single machine premium SSD. If you create 2 machines, put them in availability set, Microsoft will give you 99.95% CLA. And if you put it in availability zone, and again here also the same rule applies, you should have minimum of 2 VMs. You should have minimum of 2 VMs over here. 3 things over here. Let me stop here for a moment. Let me quickly show you all an example of how do you use virtual machine scale sets. Sorry, how do you use availability sets? How do you use availability zone? For that, I'll have to take up another machine here. Let me go to my environment. Let me take up a new virtual machine here. Same resource group server RG virtual machine name webville1. Let it be East Asia username. I would want to open the RDP port standard HDD. It has by default selected the same network which was there earlier. Whenever you are creating any kind of machines, here you see availability options. It says no infrastructure redundancy required. Because we have not selected this option. Now where do I select this? Now this option is available on the basic section. And here you'll be able to see the options for availability. Let me put this URL on the chat window. Whatever we have discussed till now in terms of availability options, you'll be able to see that details over here in terms of availability zone, availability set. What we have not discussed by now is virtual machine, scale sets, load balancing, storage, redundancy. Those points will compute one by one. Right now you can take a look at availability set and availability zone. Anyone have any questions? Subha's quick question. There's nothing like availability region, right? There's nothing called as availability region. That's right. We will use the network. Sorry, I missed the last part. We have it like the traffic manager will handle the regions correct. Correct. That's right. Here you have availability zones. And like I was mentioning about 99.9 says minimum uptime SLA. Right? Independent power cooling networking. All these details you can see over here on your availability zones. In terms of availability sets, we discussed about fault domain, update domain, and how to update. I have posted both the URLs on the chat window. You can get into details of each of these things. Here, what we'll do is we'll specify an option over here for availability set. Again, I have a small problem here. I'm choosing this region as East Asia, but I'm not getting the value highlighted for availability zone. What could be the purpose of it? Or what could be the problem over here? It's not available there. It's not available. That's right. Like I said earlier, availability zone is not there in all regions. Meanwhile, if I go for, say, Southeast Asia within Southeast Asia, can I see this availability zone? Because Southeast Asia has this option of availability zone. Depends upon which is the region that you are selecting. Let me select availability zone. When you're doing this, it asks you a simple question whether you want to create this in availability zone 1, 2 or 3. First machine, you can create it in availability zone 1. Second machine, get in set availability zone 2 or 3. Right. That's how you will be able to create your resources. Does it make sense to everyone? Let's go ahead. Click on Review and Create. Now what I have done is I have selected Availability option as Availability Zone. To get the exact feature of this, you should have minimum of 2 machines. Let me go to VMs once again. Let me go to my existing machine. Now, here you will not see an option of putting a machine into availability zone or availability set because these options or these tasks are supposed to be done when you are creating the machine, not after you have created the machine. While this machine is getting created, let me take up one more machine here. Now if I go for availability set, first thing is availability set is available in all regions. It's not like availability zone that is available only in specific regions. It is available in all regions. Here, what I can do is I can specify availability set details. Web availability set or whatever name you want to give. And like we discussed about, you have fault domain. All machines which are in same fault domain will share a common power source physical network switch. And when I say two fault domains, which means first machine will be in first fault domain, second machine will be in second fault domain. Second is the update domains. In terms of update domain, here you can specify how many update domains you want. Now, every environment may have different set of fault domains and update domains, but there is a restriction for it. You will not have more than 3 fault domains and 20 update domains. And this will differ from region to region. Not all data centers will have same set of fault domain and update domain. While you are creating your machine, you will have to specify the availability set or availability zone. Once your machine is created, you cannot move your machines into another into availability zone or availability set. Is this part clear to everyone? And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.